This is your video for the Congress chapter on the basic setup of Congress. So Congress, because there's so many people there's 100 people in the Senate and 435 members of the House. It's very difficult for them all to get work done when they're debating at the same time. So they set up this system of committees, and both the House and Senate have a series of standing committees based around a specific topic. So the committees might be an agriculture committee or a tax committee or veteran services. And these committees are maybe large groups of people, 20 to 30. And then within that, they can also break down into subcommittees, like groups of 5 who work on specific parts of the Veterans Affairs Committee. The committee members can do a whole bunch of things. They can conduct hearings. So oftentimes when bills are getting passed, they want to bring in people who both like and dislike the bill to hear why they think certain things about legislation. They, of course, get to take bills that come to the committee. They get to debate them amongst themselves. They can also amend those bills and change them. A really important vocabulary term for the AP test is oversight. And what a lot of committees do is look to see if a bill, once it's already been passed, is being implemented the way it was intended to. So once Congress passes a bill, the president signs it, it's up to the executive branch to enforce it. And oversight is basically a committee looking into that process. Is it being enforced properly? Are there things we need to change about this bill? We can offer amendments. Or, as we look through it, is this actually solving the problem we intended to? Maybe as they do oversight, they find some fraud or they find something that's really problematic. And then, of course, they can do investigations as well. So they can look into investigations to see if there's impropriety. They can also look into investigations of their members or members of the executive branch. Now, every party, which is generally 2 parties, gets to put their own members into committees. So there are certain committees that are much more powerful than other committees, but the majority party, whoever controls the chamber, has to have a majority of members on the party. And the majority party also gets to control who's the chairperson of the party. That includes members of the subcommittees and the committee chair for the subcommittee as well. Now, the House of Representatives is the larger chamber with 435 members, and every member of the House is up for re-election every 2 years. So they are constantly running for re-election. There's a lot of people here trying to prove something, so they have something to run on. And because of that, it's extremely political in the House. The Speaker of the House is the most powerful member of the majority party, and they have tons of power in controlling how the House of Representatives debates bills. The Speaker of the House, just as an example, is the chairman of the Rules Committee generally. The Rules Committee sets up all of the rules for the members of the House and how bills will come in to the House and then be debated. So the Rules Committee gets to set the calendar. The House of Representatives has so many people that once a bill gets to the House, the Speaker of the House gets to decide which committee it goes to. And then if the chamber is going to debate the bill, the Rules Committee gets to decide which days and times they're going to debate it. So they get to set that calendar. They can also set time limits for speeches. They might say that each party only gets, let's say, 10 speeches each, and they have a maximum time of 3 minutes each. Because of this, they can schedule very specific times and days where a certain bill will be debated. The Rules Committee also gets to decide if it's an open rule, which means it's open for proposed amendments and changes. Those, of course, would have to be debated on and then voted on by the whole chamber. Or they can close rule it, which means you have to vote on it as it is with no changes. All of these various rules make the House extremely partisan. Again, because they're constantly running campaigns and fundraising and running for office, it also can change more frequently every 2 years as opposed to the Senate. So the House is extremely partisan. A lot of times the majority party and the Speaker of the House heavily control what goes on in the House. So it's very little debate. The majority party, as long as they vote together, can basically decide all bills, all changes to bills. There tends to be very little compromise in the House of Representatives. The only power that the founders gave the House in the Constitution is the fact that revenue bills, which deal with taxes, have to originate in the House. Once the House has passed that bill, the Senate would still have to pass it, and of course the president would have to sign it into law. The Senate only has 100 members, so it is far less political, much more decentralized, maybe even a little more casual than the House. There is no Rules Committee in the Senate, and there is no Speaker of the Senate like there is in the House of Representatives. So the Senate basically does things in the order in which it's received. The 17th Amendment, which allows us to now directly elect our senators, also makes the senators more beholden to citizens as well. So they do have to run for office. They do have to ask for people to vote for them. But that just happens every 6 years. The Senate does not have a rules committee, but there are a couple of general rules for debate in the Senate. If a bill comes in and they decide to debate it, it just goes to the bottom of the list, and the Senate does everything in the order in which it's received. The House actually schedules it in specific times or days. Now, the House has two major rules. It's called the hold and the filibuster. The hold allows them to vote to put something on hold. So if something's at the top of the list that they don't think they want to debate right now, with a majority, they can set that aside temporarily. And that allows them to kind of go down the list and prioritize things that they think are important. The other thing that they have is what's referred to as the filibuster. There are no time limits on speeches in the Senate. There's a lot fewer people, so anybody who wants to give a speech either for or against a bill can sign up to do so, and there's no time limit there. So one of the things that is used by the minority party is a filibuster. If you are the last person of the minority party to be giving a speech, then you can just kind of give the longest speech of all time, because after you're done, they vote on the bill. And they vote whenever the speeches are done. So if the minority party just continues to talk, they basically delay the vote. Now, you might not think that's a big deal, but you have to be live and in person in the Senate to vote on a bill. So if this person is talking and it's now 10 p.m., it's now midnight, that's very frustrating because members of the Senate can't go home. If it's a weekend, they can't fly home to their families in their home state. So sometimes using the filibuster to prolong the debate is a tactic used by the minority party to try to get some compromise and some of their ideas into the bill. Now, in 1917, the Senate did vote on a new rule as a way to end a filibuster. It's called a cloture. It takes a 3/5 supermajority, which is really high. So that would be 60 out of 100. Which generally means you'd have to have both representatives or senators from both parties who want to end a filibuster and just move on to vote with the bill. Whenever the filibuster is over or whenever a cloture vote has happened, then they just vote directly on that bill. Now, the Senate, this can, of course, lengthen debate. Speeches can be very long. There can be many of them. And nobody really knows when the last one's going to be over. So there's not a specific day or time when they need to be in the Senate to vote on a bill. And this can really prolong people's workday or work week. The Senate, however, because there's only 100 of them and they work together for 6 years, they know each other better. They're far more willing to compromise, work together with people of the other party in order to get things done.